This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to the Whisker Report. We're a new podcast dedicated to helping anyone in the pet industry, whether you're an animal welfare or a for-profit pet company, get some PR and buzz for your organization. Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Tan, one of the hosts of the show, along with my co-host, Alexandre Ricard, a cat rescuer and public relations professional who hails from France, but now lives in the lovely town of Vancouver in Canada. Bonjour, Alex.
Bonjour tout le monde. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We're here also today with our producer, Mark Winter of Pet Life Radio, who is the man who gets us to you each and every week.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Good. What you got on tap this week with your shows?
We just released the first episode of Saving the Streets, a really cool new podcast with Alex as one of the hosts.
Yay! It's a podcast about rescuing animals and TNR all around the world. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that you are a resident of the world and you travel to third world countries, first world countries, just rescuing animals everywhere you go.
Yeah, just trapping them in, sterilizing them everywhere I go.
Well, we're so honored that both of you are with us because you can do PR for yourself, and Alex, Mark, and I are going to help you each and every week.
And today we have one of our favorite people to work with on the podcast. Shea Russo is the VP of Marketing at Boss Dog and Boss Cat brands and has been working there since 2019, I believe. Welcome to the show, Shea.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And I think just to start off, we would love to know how you ended up in the pet industry. I think it's because of Basil, but tell us the story.
Yeah, so this story takes me all the way back to high school. So when I was in high school, I was just looking for a little part-time job, and Basil, the owner and founder of Boss Nation Brands, had a different company at the time in the consumer goods world. It was a Greek yogurt for humans, and he needed a demo person in Seattle, so someone to go in and hand out samples. So me in high school, that was the perfect gig. So I started working with him then when I was about 17. And fast forward a couple of years, I was running his demo company nationally, running thousands of demos a year for him as his demo coordinator. And then once he sold his brand, he launched Boss Dog and Boss Cat a couple years later and entered into the pet world because he had a newfound love for all things animals. And he brought a number of us over from that previous company and into the pet industry. So I've learned a ton and since 2019, like you said, and it's been very awesome.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea you worked with them since high school.
Yeah, that has been, over 10 years now. Almost close to 15, I guess. That really ages me then, huh?
But you know what? Like, it just proves to show that, you never know what's going to end up in life, right?
Exactly.
Like, would you ever thought that you'd still be working for him?
I never would have thought, especially starting in that position, that's as entry level as it gets. I'm just doing demos, just doing that service, and now running his entire marketing program. That's pretty cool. I never would have thought I would be in this position, and I'm having a blast learning all things pet and all things, running a marketing strategy and trade promotions and all that goes into being a VP of marketing.
So Whisker Media has been working with you guys since 2019.
Yes.
And it has flown by. Oh,
it really has.
Gosh. I have seen your company grow from, I think when I started, it was just your frozen yogurt and your goat's milk. And now it's like 50 different kinds of products.
So we have a little over 50 consumable goods and then over 250 tactical hard goods. So that's our dog collars, leashes, and harnesses. So we're sitting at about 300 SKUs.
Wow. And talk a little bit about like your growth in having to market all those products? Like, how do you get buzz and create the campaigns?
Yeah. So a lot goes into it, as you guys know. We've never been a company who kind of waits until all of our ducks are in a row before we launch something, or else we would not have 300 SKUs launched in the last 6 years. But it starts just very granularly, making sure our formulas are correct, and then putting out all of our marketing materials, and then notifying you guys. You guys are instrumental in that process of getting the word out. So once we feel like we have our formulas right, the marketing right, then we come to you and try to get the word out to the street. So there's a lot that goes into getting the word out. There's different platforms, different avenues to do so. Press releases is one of the main ones, trade show exposure, of course. And then most recently, we're focusing on our digital efforts and increasing brand awareness in that more so than ever. Just things are changing, times are changing, and we know that we can't ignore social media and the digital side of the world of marketing. So that's kind of been our strategy overall with launching new products and relying on our partners, whether that's retailers or our digital platforms, to help us get the word out too, because we can't do it alone.
You're talking about the digital side of it. Have you guys been working with a couple of influencers?
Yes. So we have upped our game in the influencer world really this last year. We found some really good partners. We've wanted to find people who we can work with in the long term. We don't want to just have, a rotating one person 1 month, a new person the next month, and so on. So we try to work with influencers over a long period of time, whether that be 6 months, a year, or even more. And we found a lot of success in that. And they're great partners. They truly believe in the brand. And they've helped us get, I think now we're close to 30,000 followers on Instagram. And before we started this, we were probably at 10.
That's amazing.
2 years ago.
How do you track your results with influencers? Do you have like a tracking link, or do you use like a code that they can share with their followers? Like, how do you track the results?
Yeah, we use both. So we have our link in bio, and we use that to kind of track overall performance. And then we have coupon codes. That's typically the way that we do it and measure our return, is coupon codes. And we're seeing that people do want to use those codes too. Because sometimes, you'll see it on an influencer's platform and you'll forget to use their code. But more so than ever, I think people are capitalizing on those rewards by being a loyal influencer follower.
And you also worked with some celebrities as well. Can you tell us how that process went? I know you had a WWE wrestler, I believe.
Yep. So we work with Rampage Jackson. We started that relationship, I think it was Super Zoo of last year. Was that Super Zoo of last year or the previous
I think so.
year? He came with us and was our celebrity appearance in the booth. And that was really, really fun. It was a really good opportunity to have him there. And there was quite a few people at the trade show who recognized him and got in line and got his autograph. And that was cool. I would say the coolest part about that was the amount of content we were able to generate. And we did some shoots with him. And that content is driving huge results online in terms of return and just exposure in general. And thankfully, Basil has a lot of connections, because that's how we even met Rampage, and he was willing to work with us as a friend of a friend, knew Rampage, and Rampage liked the brand. And so then the rest is history.
Wow. So are you planning any other celebrity kind of partnerships?
We definitely will do that in the future. I mentioned that we're focusing on the digital side of things. And so with that comes quite a bit of budget allocation towards that mission. And so right now we're at a stage where we're trying things, seeing if they work, seeing if there's return, and then going from there. So we can't do it all at once. So for now, we have a direction for 2025. Celebrities isn't necessarily on that, but things change.
Oh, absolutely. So, I've seen Boss Nation brand just grow and grow. And I remember when, like most startups, you're kind of like a scrappy little startup and you're just trying everything. You've seen a lot of success now. What would be your advice to a startup pet company that's, they're just starting? They just got their product. It may not even be in stores yet. What are some things they can do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we all want the answer to that. But in our experience, being willing to pivot is the most important thing because you come into this industry altogether or whatever industry you're in, and there's different things that are successful in specific industries. So for us, Basil coming from CPG, coming into the pet world, he relied a lot on mentors and people he met in the industry to guide our direction, really, because our direction has been focused on independent pet specialty stores for the last 6 years. And so, a lot has happened in those 6 years, like a pandemic being one of them and all the supply chain issues. And so through those things, you have to be willing to pivot and come up with a new game plan and also lean into what's working. If you're feeling resistance over a long period of time, then it's probably not working and you might need to pivot and come up with a new direction, or whether that's a formulation, whether that's your trade calendar, or, simply your overall objectives for the business. So that would be my general advice. And then consistency and persistence is what gets the job done.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shea. We need to take a little break, but we'll be back to hear more about your strategy.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
And we're back with Shea Russo, the VP Marketing of Boss Dog and Boss Cat brands. Shea, you were just talking about pet stores and pet retailers, and I just wanted to ask you, how important is it that you build a really good relationships with your retailers, and how do you make that happen?
That's, extremely important and something we've been working on very diligently over the last couple of years. I think that happens simply with good relationships, whether that's at the sales level or even bringing our owner and founder in to create those relationships, have those meetings, and being willing to train the staff at the floor level all the way up to the manager level. So for us, it's been, like I said, a big focus and something that we see returning when we do make those investments in those needle-moving retailer accounts, that we need to put all of our efforts there, make sure they're trained, make sure they have all the tools that they need to be successful. That's something I definitely wanted to bring up on this is the retailer loyalty to brands is something I think is really important, because there is this notion of buying whatever product is on deal that month. And that does just create a little bit of a hard industry as a whole, because consumers coming into the store don't know what brand they're going to get that month. And then that doesn't lead to the best partnership really between brands and retailers. So we're trying to create that loyalty, create enough trade and promotion in there for the retailer to be loyal to us as a brand.
And one thing that I know is particularly unique about Boss Nation is you have a special program called At Your Service, correct? And
Yes.
when you walk into a store, a lot of times the sales staff, like if you walk into Target or Walmart and you say, "What should I feed my cat?" Generally, they're going to say, "Well, I feed my cat this," right? And that's something you're trying to avoid.
So our At Your Service platform, we've had it from the very beginning, and essentially it's meant to be a one-stop shop for retailers to get any support that they could need. It's a very customizable platform, if you will. If they need a custom brochure, we do that all the time. If they need a custom promotion, we also do that. We have some very fun interactive training platforms. We use one that asks questions along the way, and then they get a reward at the end. So we're doing whatever we can to give these retail staff the incentive and the tools that they need to help us be successful and help their store be successful. We've done some really cool things, not limited to custom neon signs that we put up in retail locations. We send stuffed dogs to stores so they can put our Boss Tactical harnesses or collars and leashes on there. So it very much is just meant to fulfill what they might need for their specific store.
So what's harder to market? Your tactical line of harnesses and leashes or pet food?
I think it depends. In brick and mortar retail, I would say they're both challenging. Online, I would say it's harder to market consumables, but if we're talking brick and mortar, there's so much competition now in the specialty raw category that educating the staff and using online brand awareness campaigns is where we really need to put our focus, where we have been putting our focus, because they need to know why you're different. If they have 7 different options in front of them, they need to know why Boss Dog and why Boss Cat is the freeze-dried raw solution. And so that's hard to get the word out there of why that is, other than the packaging itself. So you got to create packaging that catches the eye, so then hopefully they'll be drawn in to learn more about your products just by that. Tactical is also difficult because of the price point. Just we're a specialty collar, leash, and harness brand. So comparing us to a $15 collar is, it's hard sometimes for consumers to make that investment. So, it all has its challenges in this specialty world, but I think we've hit a really good stride with educating. Our packaging is awesome. And of course, the value add of our tactical and consumables. Once customers try it, we think that we've got them to believe in us.
Oh, Alex, did you have a question?
Yeah, but it's actually a question for you, Mary. So, how would you navigate in PR what's happening with the bird flu and the freeze-dried and raw food? Because I know in Canada it's been everybody's like freaking out about it to feed their cat raw food or freeze-dried raw food. And how would you deal with that as a PR person for the company?
Yeah. In fact, it just got blown up a little bit more because the Wall Street Journal had an article yesterday about how the bird flu is now affecting cats, because as you know, some cats are free roaming and they eat birds or their excrement, and then they have bird flu. So I think the number one thing that people should do when it comes to raw diets, and cats in particular, is most of the cats affected are outdoor cats. So if you have an indoor only cat, you're not going to be affected. And there was also another pet food company, not Boss Nation, that was involved in a recall, but it was shown by the Federal Trade Commission that they were actually incorrect. That animal was an indoor-outdoor cat. So if you have an outdoor cat, you need to take precautions. And, here at Whisker Media, we're a firm believer that cats should be solely inside for obvious reasons. They can get sick, they can get run over by a car, they get in cat fights and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's my advice to raw companies out there, is to get ahead of it and explain the situation. And what they found is that the cats affected by these raw food, by claims that raw food caused the bird flu in cats, is actually incorrect, because these are all indoor-outdoor cats. And you don't know what cats get into. And it's so easy. Cats love to chase birds. And so a lot of the research, and I believe Pets Plus magazine put an article out about it, that the findings were not correct connecting raw food to the bird flu.
Okay, so you would put the word out there, just educating people about the situation, just to, yeah. Okay, that's
and I would do that specifically if your food was part of the discussion. If your food got into, I won't mention what company got called into it, but they absolutely should get out there and put a statement saying, the first cat that got the bird flu has an Instagram account, and that cat is outside all the time. But you do have to be careful. That's just the situation now. Shea, I wanted to ask you, how big is your marketing department? People are going to ask that.
Yeah. So we are very lean. It's me and my trusty sidekick, Kaylee. I'm so thankful for her. I think the amount we're able to put out is that of a team of 5 personally, just because we know how to get the job done. We work extra and all of that, but team of 2, happily team of 2, and looking forward to the day where we can be a team of 10.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people think that, that you have, you have a graphics person, that you have like 10 people.
And we do rely on, you guys would be someone we rely on. We do have a creative team that's third party, so they're not directly a part of our marketing, but they're a hand away for us. And so they do a lot for us, a lot of design and creative. So we outsource when we need to, but for the most part, we're a well-oiled machine at, just trying to optimize what we have out there. We recently went through a whole website redesign, which was a good thing for us. And that was quite crazy to do that all on our own, but it was good. It's a good website now. Go check it out.
Definitely.
So, Mary, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So what has it been like knowing us from 2019 and then seeing where we are now and us and how we've impacted the industry from your perspective?
I think you are definitely, and Alex can attest to this too, you're definitely, I would say, one of the top leaders in raw pet food nutrition. In 2019, there were very few brands that were doing it. And I can tell you that everybody we talk to who's a naturopath or holistic, everybody, these people just adore your product. So we used to work with the 2 Crazy Cat ladies, and they rave about your product. And I personally feed Boss Cat to my 2 little cats, and I have for quite some time. And I can tell you, I noticed the difference. And I'm a firm believer that a PR person should not represent a company unless they 100% believe in the product, because we can't promote you well unless we use the product. So every company that we represent, we personally use. And I just love Boss Cat. And when I had a dog, I used to feed her Boss Dog as well. And I really like, you're probably the only ones that have the prebiotic and probiotic gut nutrition. And you put, billions of them versus most companies just put they say it's probiotic and prebiotic, but it's just, it's not to the level that your product is. And if you look at the ingredients, it's all 100% pure.
And I've seen it as well, like when we are at the trade shows and we tell the media or the influencers that we're bringing them to your booth, they always get very excited, even if it's like returning ones. If we've seen the media like the past year or the influencers, every time we say we're going to Boss Dog and Boss Cat, they just get excited anyway because they know that you're going to have at least one thing new, right? That's what I think is really important with you guys, is that you always put new things out. So they always get really excited, and I've only heard really good things about your product. I've never heard something bad about it, which I think is amazing because that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate so much exposure that you guys bring to our booth at these trade shows because, as you guys know, the trade show floors are packed. And I always feel like we get an awesome amount of exposure from those shows just by people coming by and learning about what we've launched in the last 6 months. So thank you guys for that.
Oh, I have a question actually, because I know that every time at the trade shows you have like, at least I think for the past 2 years, you had like a big, like, is it a dog or a wolf?
Oh, yeah.
Or like
Yes, so we put this werewolf on the top of our trailer that we have displayed, and it's like a Halloween werewolf, but we put a Boss Dog shirt on him and then our tactical collar and leash. So we put that up. I think Super Zoo of last year was the last time because it's quite dangerous for us to be up there trying to put this thing together. So we have retired the werewolf, and now we have a spinning hologram fan. So, trying to keep it flashy still, but trying not to fall off the trailer as well.
Do you think it's important for you guys to attract the attention that way? Because, I mean, there's just so many booths. So do you find that it is bringing people?
I do. I definitely think putting something on like high up on a trade show booth is super important because people are looking up for numbers on that are hanging from the ceiling. So their eye is going to be caught by something that's either displayed high or a hanging banner. They hang the banners from the ceiling. So you can do that. I think those are crucial to getting exposure and people walking by.
All right, well, we're going to take one more quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about trade shows with Shea.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand, only from Pet Life Radio.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
And we're back with Shea Russo, who is the Vice President of Marketing for Boss Nation Brands. Shea, when it comes to doing trade shows, what's your advice out there for other pet companies?
Yeah, trade shows have changed so much since I've even been in the pet industry. You know, our first year was the only year pre-pandemic. And so that was entirely different than post-pandemic. And so I'm still kind of learning about trade shows. But for us, we have to have a solid promotion across all our distribution in the country. And then we have to be open to learning and meeting new people at the trade show. Because when you're busy, when you have, only, 5 or 6 people to field questions and, B2B connections, it can be overwhelming. But we have made some amazing partnerships in taking that time to sit down with passer buyers and learn about what they have to offer or what they're doing. So my advice would be to, try to drive that sale because that's what you're there for, but also take the time to be open-minded to make new connections, whether that be a business service or a new distribution or, something else. But that's what we've learned at least. And, we're looking forward to Global coming up here right around the corner.
Yep.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. I heard it's supposed to be big this year.
Oh, that's
what I
good.
heard. Yeah.
So is there a way, it's so expensive to showcase at these trade shows. Do you have any ways to say you're a small startup, just starting out, so you get the smallest booth? Is there any way to cut costs?
Yeah. So a way to cut costs would be to have a modest display. One that is easy to set up and easy to ship because, freight, unfortunately, is a big factor in getting all your goods where they need to go. So I would say having a modest display and letting the product speak for itself is very important. And also having good representation. There's nothing that can replace a good product and then the people in the booth. So if you have someone just sitting down, not engaging with people, then it's kind of pointless to be there. So if you're going there, if you're a new brand and you're wanting to grow, you're already taking that step that needs to be taken. And then, like I said, cutting costs by freight and then, where you stay. These hotels around these trade shows are astronomical. So maybe staying a little bit farther out, even though you might have to drive in a little bit, but that makes the world of a difference as well.
Yeah, and they charge you for everything. Chairs, carpeting.
Yes. So that's another thing we learned too, is to bring our own. It's cheaper to buy your own table and chair and ship that. I know I mentioned freight, but this is a circumstance where bringing your own table, your own chairs, and your own furniture, you save money in the long run. We even invested in our own carpet. So we've taken it that far as well and we paid for it in one show easily.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So one last question I have to ask you is, how do you get your marketing messages into your sales staff? Do you meet with them on a regular basis to talk about new strategies that you're working on?
Yeah. So we have weekly sales and marketing meetings on Fridays. And so that's the best way that we do it. But also whenever we launch a new product, we have an in-depth call with the team going over the attributes and what our strategy is from a sales standpoint. So that's our personal strategy for sure.
Oh, I know. I have a question that I thought Alex would ask, but I'm going to ask it. How is it working with shelters and rescues and animal welfare in general? Like, how many requests do you get?
Yeah, so we get, at least 10 or more a month of people reaching out looking for support. And it has been really incredible. Some of the groups that we've donated to way back in the day, we're still donating to and have a relationship with to this day. A group out of Florida comes to mind because I did meet them at a trade show at Global our first year. It's called In Harmony with Nature. And the relationship we've created is just really awesome. They have a really cool organization and they come by our booth every year. So it's been a really fun experience to learn about all these people who need help and need support, and they're doing it in a really wholesome way that it's easy to get behind groups like that. So from our business strategy as a whole, we knew we wanted to have this charity aspect of it, and it's just been very easy to continue that on for the years.
And so here's one of my tips for an animal welfare group that's going to ask a brand for assistance is it's always helpful to read their websites. And I know you have Boss Dog Cares. That's a huge program of Boss Nation. But it's also helpful to do research on the founder. And Shea, correct me if I'm wrong, Basil's very passionate about veterans and service dogs as well, correct?
Yes. Yes, he is. So his wife served in law enforcement for a majority of her career. And then our warehouse manager is a military veteran and served 7 deployments. So we are very passionate about that. And I think you bring up a good point too, is learning about the brand, learning about the founder, and seeing if you're a right fit for the brand too. Because there's a lot of different people, brands doing different things out there that it might make a better fit somewhere else. Because the last thing a brand wants to do is say no. And that is few and far between with us. If someone's coming to us and asking for help, we're going to find a way to help them. And that has just been something that we've stayed to.
All righty. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? And tell us where people can reach out to you.
Yeah, so people can reach us on our website or simply info@bossdogbrand.com. We're very responsive. We have good customer service, so reach out to us anytime. I guess my last question would be for you guys is, what do you think? Is there anything that comes to mind that we could be doing better when it comes to PR?
Do you want to go, Alex?
Go for it, Mary. You're the most experienced one.
Well, I think, and this is not just Boss Nation, but it's every single pet client we represent is, don't forget to include PR in your strategy. PR is a part of marketing, and it has a lot of amazing benefits. In fact, there's nothing better than a third party, especially a news organization or an influencer who is promoting your brand, and perhaps you didn't even pay for it. I mean, that's like the best thing. And so I think like including us earlier in your strategies, or, when you're just launching a product, letting us know right away that this product is in the horizons, because then we can start thinking, how can we insert this product into, like, for example, the news of the day. So we use a technique called newsjacking a lot, and it's where we take a brand and we insert it into the news of the day. So what might that look like? So it could be something like, there's a new collar for a dog that doesn't hurt the dog, and it's easy. I'm making this up. And you can recall a dog when a dog is in a terrible situation. So an example of that is we had a shooting, a police officer shot a pit bull here in Minneapolis because the police officers thought that the dog was attacking him. But actually, if you read the animal's body language, it wasn't saying that. And so what we ended up doing is, I was working with a behaviorist at the time, is I pitched that behaviorist to the news media. And it ended up being an educational piece on the signs of when a dog is going to bite. So you could do something similar that with a collar that maybe, that's easy to grab in the case of a tense situation or something like that. So that's kind of what I think in terms of newsjacking.
I know you've taken a lot off of my plate, and earlier we mentioned how lean of our internal marketing team is. So I appreciate you guys taking things off of my plate, and we'll continue to better include you in our marketing strategy overall.
But you know what? You're one of our favorite clients.
Good.
I mean, you're at the top of the list.
Good,
Yeah,
I'm
you
glad. I'm glad. Same.
All right. Well, that is a wrap for this show. We're so excited to be doing this for all of you out there who are making life better for animals. So, do you have a question you want us to answer? Reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook under Whisker Media, and we'll try to answer your question in a future podcast episode. So, as we always say,
Bark loud and purr smart.
see you later, everyone.
Let's Talk Pets every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.